here. Today I'm back with my 5th video on statements and loops. Please like and subscribe to this video, because this is the 5th time I've tried to record the video, with my computer being absolutely rubbish and sometimes people interrupting without really knowing it. Yeah, I've been recording this 5 times and it's the 5th time, so please like and subscribe this video. Thanks for that. We're going to be doing statements and loops. Yeah. So there are a few types. There is the selection statements, which are the easy ones. For example, if. It is the easiest one, I think, to get your head round. It's a bit like the conditional ternary operator in the last episode, but I think a bit easier to understand. There is also the else statement and the else if statement that go along with the if statement. Finally, on the selection statements, there is the switch statement. I haven't included every single statement or loop that there is. I've just included some of the best ones that you should probably learn. Furthermore, we have loops. We have 3 of them that I've selected: the while loop, the for loop, and the range-based for loop. Again, we're going to be discussing those later on in the episode, so just don't worry about that. Anyway, we also have some jump statements, and they are break and continue, and they will help with our loops and the switch statement to get out of it, basically. So let's begin programming. We're going to be in here using namespace std. Yeah, I really don't care about checking for external changes, thanks. Yeah, so I've already set up my file. So I've got the IO stream and standard namespace and a not responding computer, because yeah. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing each statement. Yeah, we're going to be using each statement, and yeah, I'll just wait for my computer to respond. Okay, so after a while of my computer being absolutely rubbish, I have got this working. So, the first one is the if statement. The way you do statements like this is very like making this main function. You do if, and then in brackets you put a condition. So say if, 12 is greater than 8, which we know is true. We know that 12 is bigger than 8. And then underneath we do brackets like that, and then we write a statement in here like this now is just blah, 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 whatever that is. So inside this if statement we're going to write some code. So if 12 is greater than 8, then cout 12 is greater than 8, end L. Yeah, so if I run that, then it will say 12 is greater than 8. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, come on. And then once it has compiled, yes, we will see 12 is greater than 8. Then we'll put underneath else. Actually, I'll just write over here A is greater than B, because we can put some up here. So int A equals 12, B equals 8. That's a new little trick, because A and B are the same data type, because they're both integers. You can put them on the same line, like int A equals 12, comma B equals 8. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. So if A is greater than B, then cout A is greater than B. The next thing that you can use is the else statement. So underneath here, it has to be in compound with the if statement. So we're going to be using else if. So if I write else if, then that basically checks if this if statement is not true. So if A is not greater than B, then it will check a second condition, so A is less than B. So if A is less than B, then this will happen. So cout A is smaller than B. So if A is not greater than B in any if statement, if this is not true, then the statements inside these brackets will just be ignored as if they didn't exist. So we've got if A is greater than B, which we know it is, we'll output A is greater than B. If it's not, then we'll check if it's less than B. And if it is less than B, if A is less than B, then output or cout A is less than B. So we have A is greater than B. So if I change this so that we don't have that 1 there, and A is 2 and C is 8, then it's a bit different. So now it says A is less than B. I'm not sure if you can see that very well in the window, but don't worry. So, now the final one is else. This doesn't need any brackets or anything, because it's just, if all else fails, then do these commands. So cout, well, if it's not greater than B, if it's not less than B, then A is, of course it is, A is equal to B. So, this means now that if I set, I don't know, A to 8 and B to 8, then it should output A is equal to B, because it's not greater and it's not less. So it says A is equal to B, as you can see here, which is pretty cool. So, I'll just change that back to 12 for the purposes of you browsing on Google Drive and looking at the code, and it's going to be awesome. So now we are going to do a switch statement, which is the second type of, actually I'm just going to put right at the top, I'm going to put if statement. Okay, so now I'm going to do switch. And what a switch does is, I'm going to keep A as 12 and B as 8. A switch is, say if I wanted to switch A, what this will do is it will look for what A is. So A is, actually let's just do B because it's lower. So B, no, I'll just make another one. C is 3 because it's just easier that way. So switch C. So C is 3. So if I go a switch statement with C as the parameter, as it's called, then it will basically look, okay, is C, so I write case 0 and then a colon, and then whatever I put like there, yeah, case 0, and then whatever I put in here will be like cout C equals 0. And I'm also going to put in here cout switch statement. Yeah. So switch statement, case 0, output C equals 0. So basically, it will check for C, and it will look for everything in here, like every single case that is provided. So in the case that C is 0, then it will do everything in here. So if we run this, then it won't do anything for this switch statement, because there's only one case, which is 0, and C is not 0. So it doesn't output anything, because it isn't any of the cases that we provided, which is only one of them. So if I just copy and paste this underneath a couple of times, and I change this one to case 1 and case 2, and I can change that to 1, and that is 2. So if I changed C to 1, for example, you see here's the problem that you have. If I set C to 1 and let it run, then because its case 1 is correct, because case 1 is correct, it does everything in the bracket for case 1, but it also does everything after it, because that's the nature of switch statements. So, as you can see, down here, C equals 1, and it says C equals 2, which obviously it's not. So, what we can do here is we can say, underneath here, we have to use one of our jump statements. And whenever this jump statement is called break. And this basically means that whenever it's finished doing all of this, and then it comes to this break statement, it will jump all the way out of this switch statement, and it will break its way out, and not bother with anything else in the switch statement, and it will resume coding, resume running the code from here. So, say if that was just a line of actual code, and the answer was case 0, it would go C out, C equals 0, and then it would break all the way out of the switch loop, and then run this comment, which doesn't run anything because it's a comment. So it's a good habit to put break at the end of all switch statements because it is so useful. So yeah. So if I do case 3, actually I can't be bothered. I'll just leave C being 2 because yeah. C is 1. So if I run it again, because I've got the break statements, it won't have weird things and go C equals 1 and it's 2. It will just say C equals 1, which is good. So under here, what if it's not 0 or 1 or 2? It's 496. If C is 496, we can't be bothered to write every single number up to 496, can we? So we write this, which is default. So if there is no case that matches, there's a default thing that will occur. So then it will write C. So in this instance, we have the default message is C out. C is not 0, 1, or 2. C is, and then we add some more of those insertion operators and then put C. Yeah, so yeah. So that will basically say, so say if C is 496 and we run it, then what the code will do is it will say under here that C is not 0, 1, or 2. C is 496, which is exactly what we wanted it to say, because that's the default statement. Okay, so after the switch statement, let's do another one. This will be some loops. Let's do the while loop. There's a really good way of explaining it on the C++ website. So I'm going to be using their sort of demonstration almost. So I'm going to be using the while loop. So it's basically like the if statement or the switch statement. You have the word while and then you take in some parameters. In this case, I'm going to take in the parameter I, which I'm going to assign to an integer. So int I equals 10, let's say. So while I is greater than 0, so while I is still a positive number, it will do everything inside here. So let's say C out I. And we're not going to put end L because we don't want to do that yet. So while I is greater than 0, so while I is still a positive number, I don't know. Yes, I do know exactly what happened there. I do know exactly what happened. It says 10. And then it goes back to the while loop, and it says, yeah, it's still 10, so we'll output 10 again. And then we output 10 again, and then we output 10 again. So basically, I need to use my decrement operator from last episode to reduce the value of I by 1. So now it goes 10, and then the next time it loops, it's 9, so etc. So we get here 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as our output. But we don't want exactly that because it's a whole jumble of numbers with no spaces in between. So I can put something like this on the end of it. And then that will do 10, 9, 8, blah, 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 blah. And then like that. So then it writes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down to 1. And that's the while loop. You can also set something like, if you want an infinite loop, you can type in while true. And then, because true is always going to be true. So that's how you make an infinite loop, just saying. So that is the while loop. There's another way to do something, which is a break, which is not break, it's continue. I'm going to do the exact same statement, but of course we've got to set I back to 0, but back to 10, because it was set to like 9 and then 8 and then 7, blah blah blah. So now I is 10 again. So while I is 0, I'll just separate these. So while I is greater than 0, I'll place the exact same thing again, but with a catch. So we're going to put an if statement in here. So if I equals, I don't know, what number do we not like? I'm going to say 4. Actually, yeah, I'll just say 3, just because of randomness. It's not actually a number that I hate particularly, but it's just something. So if I is 3, then I write continue. This is almost exactly the same as break, but instead of stepping outside the entire while loop, it will just exit off of that little statement. So if it will basically go to the next occurrence. So if I equals 3, then it will run the while loop again. It will basically ignore everything else and run the while loop again. But one flaw with this program is that means it won't subtract I. So I need to do it again here, because it's continuing and ignoring the rest of this code in the while loop for that particular running of the while loop. Then it won't do the subtracting 1 from I. So basically what that code will do is it will detect in the while loop whether I is 3. And if it is, then it will subtract 1 from I. I'm just actually going to, if it is 3, then it will subtract 1 from I as normal, and then continue, which basically means it will remove everything else inside the while loop and then just rerun it again with the rest of the while loop. Hope that made sense, but I'm just gonna just put a new line in between there, just because we sort of need it for it to be, yeah. So now you can see, because we've used our continue statement, we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now on the second one, we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1. With the 3 missing, because we've eliminated the 3 using our if statement, which is a good use of the if statement. Okay, what else is there to do? We've done both of those. The for loop is all we have left for today. So I'll write cout. We need a new line, so NL. For loop. And then another NL. Okay, boom. So for loop. We are going to make a for loop. So for is more difficult than while, and I try to use while when I can, but for is sometimes the only way forward. So the way a for loop works is you do for initialization condition increment. So what this basically means is that when the for loop starts, a variable is initialized in this part. These commas should be semicolons, by the way. Sorry about that. For initialization, like a variable, like let's use J in this instance, is initialized. And then this bit is a bit like the while loop. The condition for the for loop to execute, like the condition here, so for example I is greater than 0, we'll basically make a replica of this little loop, well, the one without any weirdy bits in it, with a for loop. So for initialization, let's use J equals 10, right? And then the condition is J is greater than 0, as before in the while loop. Then the increment, as we have here, is minus J. Then we just need to write cout J. And then, like, maybe our comma thingy. So then we have cout J. And is J something? Yes, we need to write int J equals 10, thanks. Yeah. So we need to write int J equals 10. We need to actually tell the computer what type of variable J is. So now we've got the for loop, which is identical to the while loop. So as you can see, it's a little bit more cluttered, I think, than the while loop, which is a bit more easily organized. So I don't tend to use for loops when I can help it, but it is still a very good feature of C++. So again, yes. So yeah, if you do like this tutorial, then of course just like, comment and subscribe. Remember, this is the 5th time I've recorded this video, so please appreciate the effort I've used. Let me just check. Thank goodness the recording software is still recording, which would be an absolute disaster if it didn't. But basically, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos by me. And yeah, basically, see you next time. And next video, we are going to be doing. Wait, let me check. We're going to be doing input. We are going to be allowing the user to input numbers and strings and other things, and yeah, some cool inputs. So I will see you next time in the next video. Like, comment, and subscribe just as usual. And yeah, see you next time.